does it give you pause about letting him go, seeing the success that other Bulls players who were here have had? And, we're talking Lowry, Wendell.
Right.
You could throw Kris Dunn in there. Like, just seeing their success, does it give you pause about wanting to let him go?
Well, of course it does. And it's funny you asked that because in the comments, Renewable and Rechargeable Review said if Coby leaves, he'll be an all-star. If he stays, he'll be forever mid. I don't know if it's necessarily that, written in stone that those will be the outcomes. If he stays here, he'll be a good but not great bench guard. Versus, or maybe given another opportunity later in his career to start, later as opposed to like when he was a rookie.
Right.
Or he goes somewhere else, blossoms into an all-star caliber player. I don't think it's necessarily one or the other. Depends on a lot of context around what it is if he stays and if he goes. But yeah, it does give me pause because we've seen it happen. We've also seen it not happen. I can't tell you how many times I guffaw to myself when I see Bulls fans on Twitter crying about not having Wendell anymore. And I'm like, show me the star player that you see in Wendell Carter Jr. because I still don't see it. I see an undersized center who's not skilled enough offensively to be a dominant power forward who can't catch a basketball. Like what? No. Sometimes they move on and they just stay mid. Lowry found the right situation. Also worth pointing out, Lowry moved on and then moved on again before finding the right situation and blossoming it into an all-star.
Very true. Kris Dunn as well. He had multiple times of moving on. No. I didn't say star. I just said he had multiple times of moving on.
Okay, right. Okay.
That's all. Calm down.
I was about to throw my laptop
calm
and
down.
walk off the set.
Calm down.
I thought you were about to anoint Kris Dunn an all-star because of like a few performances on multiple 10-day contracts.
Not at all, man.
On a tanking Jazz team.
Not at all, sir. That's not where I was going with that. Woo! How about you, man? How about you?
I mean, I think it's also depends on like how you get rid of him or what the circumstances are. Like if they let him walk for nothing and he turns into an all-star, that obviously looks bad.
Right.
If you trade him and turn him into, like you talk about Wendell, and obviously like the trade for Wendell I think was pretty lopsided. We can all agree. But if it was just, or the trade for Vooch, which included Wendell.
Right.
But if it was just like Wendell and Otto Porter, no picks involved, I don't think anybody feels bad about that trade. And I think Wendell's a good player, but if you cash him in, it's different than, like cashing in your chips is different than letting him walk for nothing because you're capped out.
Yeah.
So I do think that would make a difference. But just because a guy left the Bulls does not mean that he's going to turn into a player. Just because the Bulls keep a guy doesn't mean that he's not going to be. I think we've all seen growth. We all know that growth is not linear. And I think Coby can get a lot better, but I'm also not going to like say he's going to get, a $25 million a year offer from the Spurs, and the Bulls are going to say, see ya, and he's going to all of a sudden be an all-star next year.
Yeah. I think I'm on the side. It does make you give me pause. No, I think I'd be lying if I said it didn't. Of course, I'll be like, oh, man, I don't. But at the same time, like you said, Will, if he gets that contract, you know what I mean, like that big one, I'm like, man, more power to you. I won't feel as bad of him leaving and becoming that. I'm like, well, there's no way they were going to pay him that, and I'll be okay of him, being that star. But if it's an offer I think the Bulls can match and he leaves and then becomes something like that, then I'm like, oh, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, we could have had that. There could have been a situation like that. And it's kind of like, when you're dating someone that breaks up with you and then, gets married. It was a movie like that. Your boy Dane Cook was in a movie like that.
Good luck, Chuck.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
With Jessica Alba,
me in real life, by the way. But
That's you in real life. Okay, all right. he would date a girl, Will, and the girl after she would break up with him would meet someone and it would become her husband. Like that was his like superpower.
He was the one before the one.
Correct.
He was cursed. Every single girl he met.
Every single, and then he met like Jessica Alba. And, he didn't want to, date her because he didn't want her to leave and stuff like that. So, spend some time on that movie if you want. But I don't want the Bulls to be that. I don't want them to be good luck, Chuck, what I'm saying, for another player, to leave and become great.
Yeah, and I think it's also different to, like, look at the way we think about Lowry right now, which is, I mean, obviously, I think most Bulls fans would say if Lowry was still on the team, they'd be excited about it. But I also think it's fair to say he had been kind of written off.
Yeah.
And, like, it wasn't going to happen.
It wasn't going to happen here. Yeah.
They moved on from him. They got Derrick Jones Jr. and a first-round pick as a result, I don't think anybody's like feeling the way that like they might about, Franz Wagner and Wendell and whoever the Magic take with the 11th pick this year. That one hurts a little bit more because it was like a lost trade as opposed to moving on and the guy just happened to blossom later on.
Yeah, I like the way you presented that as far as Wendell, because I think that's a great way to say it. It's not the player, it was the picks. Because if the player turns out to be great and better, okay, great. But now you've given them a safety valve, in case he didn't.
Right.
They still had 2 opportunities to make up for that. Whereas if he did turn out okay, then you made it even bigger. So, no, I feel you on that point.
I mean, on top of that, you also prevent yourself from being able to make the next move. You need picks to make the next move.
It's a facts, GOAT.